We open with the Galaxy Dome and Sledge's ship still stuck together, until eventually Odious blows up the magnet, so the two finally separate and eventually stabilize. And Odious comments that her entire life's work has just been ruined. Just for Cosmo to come in and mention that they lost Galvanax and the two red Shurikens they had. And Odious says, well, great, we lost the Shurikens. How worse could this be? And then they get held up by Sledge's crew, who boarded the ship. Sledge wants to scrap the ship, but Odious defuses the situation by just introducing herself and saying that she runs an intergalactic television show, which piques the curiosity of Curio and Poisandra, because they want a spot on the show. And after some negotiation, Sledge agrees to help out Odious and the Galaxy Warriors. They also discover that a lot of the fragments of the collapsed Earth still embedded in the Galaxy Dome is filled with ninja steel. Then we cut months later and the ninjas regroup. In that time, Preston's been practicing more of his magic, Levi's gone on tour with Brody and Dan to catch up on some lost time, Sarah's been sending Greybot out into space to look for Victor Monty and the red Shurikens, Calvin's got his dream job as a car mechanic, and him and Hayley has been helping Boom repair the Shurikens. But oh no, the Galaxy Wars have returned and they have a new contestant. And we set up a new status quo for the show for a while. The Fox spots are still around with unique footage. Curio and Cassandra are new fight commentators with Cosmo. Monty is forced to forge new shurikens. Odious curses them, and Sledge finds something on Earth to turn into the new contestant. And Victor's forced to be a clown to entertain the audience in between the fights, as a dig to his character in Season 1. And the audience is going to be filled with prisoners from Sledge's ship that he forces to cheer on the Galaxy Warriors. And after the contestant is defeated, we cut to Cosmo, and it's revealed that Galvanax is still alive in a healing chamber, with Cosmo stating something along the lines of, unlike those traitors and that coward Tynamon, I'm still loyal. Galvanax is also getting powered up by the two red shurikens, and we can also see that Cosmo is ciphering power from the Odious Megazord, that Odious is still trying to get powered up again. Now that the Galaxy Warriors have returned, and that the ninjas finally have a proper master, they've been training harder than they ever have in their entire lives. But on a particularly hot day, the Galaxy Warriors are attacking with a new contestant with ice powers. So now everyone's overheating and overcooling. It's getting so bad they can barely even fight, and Levi's yeehaws turn into wolf howls. But Calvin, who is a little better at taking heat than the others, is able to use his illusion powers to give the contestant a taste of her own medicine. Then we get original footage of him using the blazing lion armor. It's Calvin and Hayley's anniversary, alright. But oh no, Calvin's awkward and hasn't dated anyone before, so he doesn't know what to do. So now it's up to the guys to show him how it's done, even though only Levi is somewhat familiar with this and the other two just know what to do because of movies. Not helping which? Frankenstein. And there's comedy, and we also learn that Calvin drops out of school, not because of stress or work, but because he thinks that he's learned everything already, and he already has a job, so he doesn't think he needs school anymore. Shenanigans ensue, and the monster ruins their romantic dinner, so Hayley uses the blazing lion armor and unique footage to take him out. And at the end, the two agree that anniversaries are kind of dumb and they shouldn't really do it anymore. And they kiss. Levi's producer comes to him and says, "Country rap? It's so hot right now." So wants to reinvent Levi's look, which he really does not like, but she reminds him that he's under contract, so he has to. So now he's a country rapper, and everyone's like, you look ridiculous. And he's like, well, yeah, but contracts. And then Sledge hits the producer with a cursed shuriken, turning her into the new contestant. Levi notices, but she just brushes it off as she got a new design as well, and reminds him contract. And he got a big gig today. And then at the gig, it's clear that he's uncomfortable performing music he's not really into, and a lot of his fans start booing him. Eventually his frustration and sadness gets to him, and his claw marks start glowing purple, and we finally see him turn into the werewolf. Tainomon and Odious was watching the whole time, and Tainomon notes that he actually kind of liked what Levi was doing. Werewolf Levi starts attacking the city, so Brody has to fight him, as Calvin and Hayley fight Skullgators with the bots, and Preston and Sarah try to negotiate with the producer out of the contract. The negotiations go on for a while until Sarah finds out a loophole. The contract was signed Levi Weston, not Levi Igasaki, his real name. So contract invalid, because it states that he had to write his legal name on it, which he didn't. Levi hears this and he starts calming down, turning back to normal. Preston and Sarah take out the contestant. She reverts back to being a human, but her monster side turns giant, so they have to deal with that. Odious appears to Levi, stating that she knows his secret, but she disappears as soon as the other ninjas appear. And they jokingly say, hey man, at least now you're a solo act. Jumping straight into the action, the ninjas are fighting the Galaxy Warriors, but oh no, they have the original werewolf from Levi's past. And the werewolf Nihilok was given the same treatments that Odious gave Galvanax so he wouldn't dry up. Levi does manages to knock him out with all of his strength, but he gets back up because he has a cursed shuriken in him, increasing his powers. So he's able to use a Bloody Moon attack, demorphing Levi, and then Levi gets so sad, frustrated, he turns into a werewolf himself. And Odious just giggles at the two werewolves fighting the ninjas and fighting each other, until Sarah uses emergency exit with her Zoom Zord and gets everyone out of there. And later that night, Levi wakes up all chained up because he just was a werewolf. And Dan asks him what's going on. We get a brief recap of Levi's story, and Dan says he knows some people that could help him with this. The next day, Dan introduces Levi to two legendary rangers, Trent and Merrick, the Dino Thunder White Ranger and Howling Wolf Silver Ranger. And they bring up how he can deal with his werewolfisms. Trent brings up how his father became Mesagog, as well as him having his evil clone. And Merrick brings up Zanaku. Trent talks about having to deal with your darker selves, but Merrick even suggests that you can, compromise and even befriend your darker self, similar to what he eventually did with Zanaku. Meanwhile, the Rangers are dealing with the werewolf Nihilok, and eventually Levi has to step in. He goes werewolf for a bit and fights the Nihilok, but thanks to his training, he's able to force it back a little. Some more fighting, and Levi uses the Blazing Lion armor to finally defeat the Nihilok. We also see some hooded figures watching the fight from a distance. Everyone congratulates him, but Levi states that the battle is far from over because the werewolf is still within him. And then at the end, we see Trent heading home just for him to be pulled away by a mysterious figure.